Hello, I'm Vicky from Vicky Myers Creations. Today I'm going to show you how to make a box bag lined, so you don't need to bind your internal seams. So I have pre-prepared the outer bag. So I've got two pieces of 9 by 11 outer fabric with fusible fleece on the wrong side. And I have two pieces of linen fabric. I've used some old trousers. I love reusing fabric from items no longer of use, and I've applied heavy interfacing iron-on to the back of this. So let's start by inserting the zip. I have a 20-inch zip which I have shortened, so I've bound the end, I don't know if you can see that there, to hold it together, and snipped it off so that the zip just lies either side of the fabric. So now I'm going to show you how to put the zip in. I have made a sandwich, so I've got my zip, I've got my lining right side facing me, followed by the zip which I've placed along the top edge. This is a 20-inch zip I shortened by tying some threads on the end, followed by the right side of the bag, the outer bag, with the fusible fleece facing me. So I'm going to make a sandwich of lining fabric, zip, outer fabric. The right side of both fabrics are facing each other inside the sandwich, and the zip is facing me with a pull to the left hand side. So I've pinned that in place. I'm now going to stitch it using a zip foot to get a close, nice straight seam along the zip. So here's my stitched seam. I am going to open out the fabrics to show the zip. There we go, there's my outer fabric. I am going to press this, get a nice crisp pressed line, and then top stitch along the edge of the zip. So this is my finished top stitched seam. I'm now going to repeat for the other side of the zip. So let's just think about this. I always like to, yes, that's right. So lining fabric, right side facing you, zip, top edge along the lining fabric, followed by the right side of the bag, the outer fabric, with the fusible fleece facing you. Pin, stitch, press, top stitch. So once you've done that, I will show you what to do next. So now you have your zip fully encased in the fabric. If you wish to add any pretty decor to your fabric, now's the time to do it. I'm making this bag for my dad as a toilet bag, so I'm going to add some plain calico strips. However, you can add some pretty ribbon, whatever you like, along the top near the zip. You could put it along the side, wherever you fancy. My top tip is to use a glue stick to temporarily hold whatever decor you're adding in place until you stitch it. So there's a bit of glue stick. Here's my bag. So I'm going to put this parallel to the zip near the top. And if you're a natural straight stitcher, you might not need the glue, but that's not my top skill, shall we say. Hence using a little bit of glue stick. If you leave it to fully dry before you stitch, then the needle won't get glued up. There we go. So I'm just going to leave that to dry for a few minutes and then stitch that in place just through the outer fabric. Don't catch your lining whatever you do, because it's not going to go together right. So the next step is to start turning your fabric into a bag. So place the right sides of your lining together and the right sides of the outer bag together. We're going to fold, we're going to pin, not fold, pin these in place. So we are going to stitch along these long lengths parallel to your zip. So let me see if I can show you. I'm going to stitch along here the full length, and on the lining end, let me get my lining to match up correctly. That's better. On your lining end, you're going to stitch part way along, and the same the other side, leaving a good 4 to 5 inches in the middle here, which will be your turning gap. So I'll stitch that in a contrasting thread so you can see what I mean. So this is a finished seam. You can see that there is quite a turning gap there. Right, this is where it gets a little bit complicated. We're going to fold those two seams we've just stitched to the zip. So let's start with the outer fabric. Here's the zip. So I am going to open out the seam and pin in place, creating 2 loops of the outer fabric. Let me hold that up to the camera so you can see it. So I'm going to do the same with the other side, with your partially finished lining fabric. I'm going to pin that in place too. As you can see, your fabric's getting quite bulky now. So I'm just folding out the seam allowance just to help with that bulk. There we go. So can you see how you've got 4 layers of fabric? So what we're going to do now is, I'm just going to fold those with my fingers. I'm going to stitch each of these loops together. So let's just take one loop to start with. I'm going to stitch from the edge virtually to the zip. We're going to stop about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch away from the zip, and we're going to repeat that for all 8 loops. So I'll stitch one and show you. So I've stitched these 4 loops this side of the bag. If I hold that up close, hopefully you can see a little bit of me. You can see that I stitched close to the zip but not all the way across, and I've done that for all 4 loops. So I'm going to repeat that for the other side, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to cut into the corners and box the corners of this box bag. This is where I realised I've made a crucial mistake, and hopefully you won't do the same. I have left my zip fully closed, so I'm hoping I can open the zip a little bit through that gap we just left because the zip needs to be open to turn the bag out later on. So I strongly suggest you don't do that and you leave your zip partially open. So now I have, oh, there's some ends I missed, stitched each of the 8 loops. So what we're going to do now is box these corners. So I'm going to get some tailor's chalk and I'm going to mark an inch or an inch and a quarter, I'll have a think, into each corner and let you know which I do. So having had a quick measure, I'm definitely going to mark an inch. That should give me 2-inch top, 2-inch side and a 2-inch base, a nice proper square. So I'm using a quilter's ruler to mark an inch square. There you go, and I'm going to do that on each corner. And then I'm going to cut them out, so let me show you cutting them out. So I'm going to repeat this for all, well I'm going to repeat this for one side of the bag first and stitch these, because I think I'm going to add a handle to the other side and I need to make that first. So there's some cut out. You're going to, let me see if I can get this at a better angle for you, fold This is why it was worth making a video. It's really tricky to try and explain in pictures, and I can see it's quite tricky to explain on video too. Fold the fabric of the corner together to create a corner, and I'm going to repeat that for the other side. Again, I'm folding the seam allowance out to reduce bulk. I want to be kind to our lovely sewing machines, we'd be lost without them. So I'm going to stitch those and repeat for the lining on that side of the bag, and then I'll come back to you and show you how to insert a handle on this side of the bag. Okay, so my bag is really beginning, you can see how it's really coming together now. I've got my corners from one side and I've done the lining corners on the other, leaving my outer corners, outer fabric bag corners, which I'm going to insert a handle into. So let's first make the handle. I've cut out a piece of fabric 7.5 by 4 inches. My outer fabric is double-sided, so I'm going to have a change and have the brown side of the fabric as a handle. So I'm folding the brown sides together and pinning in place. So I'm going to stitch that. So then I've got my stitched loop. I'm going to turn that inside out. I'm sure there's a quicker way of doing this, but it's not very long piece of fabric, so it shouldn't take me very long to pull through. Once I've pulled it all through, I'm going to press, and I'm going to press the seam so it lies in the middle, the back of the handle. There. So I'm going to press it so the seam, if you can see that, is in the middle. So I'm going to press that and then I'm going to top stitch along either edge here. Okay, so here's my finished handle. Now I need to insert that into these two corners. So I'm going through the lining, through my open zip. Let me just think about this because I want my seam on the inside. So I've got the seam facing me. Let me pin that in place and show you a little bit closer on the camera. So there, can you see that? Not sure whether that's in focus because the camera's focused over here. And then I'm going to pull that through to the other side. I want to try and ensure I've got that handle straight as much as I can. There we go, I think that's pretty good. And pin that in place. So I'm going to stitch those final 2 box corners, and then I'll show you the final 2 seams we need to do before we pull the bag the right side out and stitch up our lining. So do you remember back at the beginning we left a little bit, we stitched the 8 loops and we left 3/4 of an inch before the zip. So now we're going to put those, the outer and the inner bags together, and we are going to stitch all the way through that gap. So this is basically going to be on the inside of your bag, the outside of your bag, this seam here. So you pull your lining and your outer fabric together, pin closely, ensure your zip aligns, and repeat for the other side too, and then stitch through all these layers. If your sewing machine's not too happy, which it might not be, you can always change to a walker foot and a needle suitable for going through thick layers of fabric. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a denim needle on and change to a walker foot. So I will stitch through these layers and then we shall turn the bag the right side out. The final step is to turn the bag the right side out through the gap you left in the lining. Depending upon how big a gap you left will depend upon quite how fiddly this is. Push the corners out and your outer fabric, and then think about your lining. So you need to line up the seam that you've just used as your turning space and pin this so that you can add a stitch this gap together. And I will show you. So there you go, there's the lining on the inside that I've pinned together. So I've got a thread and I'm just going to join those 2 pieces of fabric together along the bottom of the bag. Ensuring you don't accidentally catch a different part of the bag. Continue until you're finished. So I'll just, no, I haven't quite finished, but show you the finished bag. So there you have it, one box bag. This is for my dad. It's intended as a toilet bag, but you can make a variety of others. I've already shown you. This was my first prototype. It doesn't have any strong interfacing and fusible fleece in it, so it's quite soft and it's a bit smaller, and it's perfect for an emergency medical kit that we take on family holidays. And I've made a larger one for which you can see a written tutorial on my blog, and I'll post, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll post a link in the comments below to the blog post where you can see written directions and photographs for making a box bag out of denim. As you can see, it's got a handle, and I've reused a denim pocket on the side for a bit of detail and contrast. So enjoy making your own box bags.